Hi everyone, and welcome to the third video of our new series where we interview IAPSS alumni about their experience in the organization and for them to give us some information about what IAPSS was like at their point in its history here. So this is part of a lead up to IAPSS's 25th birthday in 2023. So we're here with Stefan Cibian, who was the IAPSS chairperson from 2003 to 2004. So the chairperson was an equivalent role as the IAPSS president today. So Stefan, how are you doing today?
Well, Justin, thank you so much for the invitation. Things are going great, well, as great as they can go during a pandemic. But I am definitely super excited about our discussion and remembering the Iaps times. So yeah, thank you once again for the invitation.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We're very grateful to have you with us here. So I guess for our first question, would you maybe be able to tell us, just I guess talk to us about what happened during your time as not just maybe IAPSS chairperson, but if you had any other roles in IAPSS as well, and maybe just perhaps from the moment that you first heard about IAPSS or first got involved, kind of maybe what inspired you to join IAPSS, and then I guess just walk us through the history of your experience and yeah, I guess if you'd like to highlight maybe some key I guess projects that you're especially proud of, or any particular memories that that you'd like to share with us, feel free. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I think I first time heard about Iaps in 2001. As I was involved in the Political Science Student Society at the Babeș-Bolyai University in Cluj-Napoca in Romania. With our organization, we became part of IAPSS, and the first General Assembly and conference that I attended, I think, was in 2002, if I remember correctly, in Bucharest. And I really enjoyed I enjoyed all the IAPSS experiences. So, but it was really great to meet political science students from all over the world, and it was really nice to engage in the projects that we wanted to do together and to think about what we could do more together as political science students. So I decided to get more involved, and as you mentioned, I was the co-chairperson in 2003, 2004, together with Cornelia, a colleague from Marburg in Germany. And then from 2004 to 2005, I was the treasurer. It was a particular interesting moment for IAPSS, as we were actually changing the seat from the Netherlands, from Leiden to Ljubljana. So I did allocate quite a bit of time to the legal procedures necessary to move the seat across countries, which I think is an experience you also recently had. So it's interesting to see how IAPSS headquarters is moving around the world. For us, it was also super interesting because previously, we changed somehow the governance model. Before 2004, it was mainly one organization assuming the leadership of the IAPSS, and from within that organization, people would fill the positions of the board. And from 2004 onwards, what we changed was that we would have an international board, so people from different organizations coming to be members of the board. And most of us moved basically to Ljubljana in 2004 and was there for an academic year, which was a really fabulous experience with the pluses and minuses as always, but really a lot of excitement in general. So I think in 2003, 2004, this was the major thing, moving the headquarters. We were also extremely, how do I say, we had the annual conference, which was also one of the big projects. I do remember it was super interesting, the discussions leading up to the decision to move the seat and how that worked out. I'm curious how Iaps General Assemblies are today. For us, it was a super interesting set of debates. And well, not least, quite interesting intercultural experiences, seeing how people from different cultures decide and what kind of information they need to take decisions, and what drives their positions in a General Assembly. So for me, it was a really fascinating experience every time I attended the General Assembly. Some moments were quite tense as well, so I think that's also what makes things interesting. 2004, if I remember, 2004, 2005, we had the annual conference and General Assembly in Moscow, actually. So that was also quite an interesting experience. At the time, also a certain member of IAPSS would assume this role of organizing the annual conference and the General Assembly, and as a board, we would support that organization, and we would basically co-organize the conference together, and that was also a key highlight of the year. Definitely, moving to Ljubljana was super interesting. Ljubljana is a really beautiful city. Slovenia is a beautiful country. We had wonderful experiences, both students, but also as Iaps employees there. We were hosted by the University of Ljubljana, and we had an office in the old building of the university, which was really downtown. It was really, really nice. It was super interesting also the dynamic among us, the board members. Part of us also lived together. We co-rented an apartment, so that spiced up things in various ways. But it was definitely a quite memorable experience, and yeah, I'm extremely grateful that I had that experience. To maybe just reflect on this experience more broadly, I think it is one of the most useful experiences I've had during my college years. As I could not only work together with people from different countries, but as I mentioned, be part of decision-making processes, build projects together, align on ideas, vision for the organization. And I think all these experiences played a really important role for building up my skills in terms of working in intercultural environments. So I really feel I owe a lot to Iaps. I was studying obviously political science, but I was focusing more on international relations. And I think this dynamic within the organization was, for me, the first time when I was really working in a very international organization. And I think a lot of the things I learned there have been extremely helpful wherever I worked afterwards, and wherever I studied or taught or whatever else I did. So it was really a tremendous experience and a really useful experience as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your memories from those years. Your experience is really distinct because you held two important positions, chairperson and treasurer later. What was one accomplishment you're proud of during either years, during either as a chairperson or treasurer? One personal accomplishment or accomplishment of your team during that time, besides of course moving headquarters to Slovenia.
Okay, so definitely this was the major thing that I think us as a team made happen. Other than that, I think you were telling me about how Iaps now has regional networks. This was something we started at the time. We were at the time, I remember several discussions with colleagues from various parts of the world. We were aiming to have regional coordinators, and we were discussing with colleagues, especially we felt we were at the time covering mainly Europe and a little bit of North America. but not so much Latin America and Africa and Asia. So we were trying to find regional coordinators that would look into this, find political science student associations and individual members, and invite them to join Iaps. This is I'm glad this has grown, and I'm glad now this is at a much more functional level. I'm definitely super happy that we as a team managed to make the conference in Moscow happen. Yeah, that I think is has been well, has had quite I'm really glad it happened. Basically, it was both it wasn't evident it was going to happen until to the last moment, in a sense, but I'm glad it did, and I think it was also a really interesting experience from an IAPSS perspective, but also because we did have quite a few speakers from Russian universities, and I think that was a very different perspective on political science and international relations. And I think it's an experience that even today is quite useful. So yeah, then I do think we did quite a bit of work to get the legal part in order, and that was also quite a huge undertaking. All these are obviously team. I mean, we couldn't have done any of this without a team working together. I think also a huge success was that we managed to work as a team, and that we found the patience basically with each other. We were coming from very different backgrounds, and very different ideological backgrounds as well, which for political science that can also be super important. So I do remember quite vivid discussions, both in terms of how we should work, but also regarding to, I don't know, ideologies and what we stand for, yeah, in our lives, I guess. So I'm really happy that we managed to survive as a team and to make happen what we made happen. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Politicon was continued, and I think that's really great. I'm really happy that that is still going on. I think it's fundamental for political science students to have the chance to publish. And I'm glad we have a second journal now. I think this is an area to potentially further expand, as publication skills are essential, especially for people who think about an academic career. Yeah, yeah, this is what I would say to your question.
Okay, well, thank you. And maybe, I guess, what was it like when, say, you got the new office and everyone moved to Slovenia to sort of start that new process? As you mentioned, you were kind of all living together. What was it like in terms of that shift to sort of have that meeting place of IAPSS where the representatives would travel to each year? Because I guess as in the current IAPSS, we're you know, we're getting the new office space again, but we are thinking about having, you know, we're trying to figure out, like, will the executive just gotta be online? Will we have some kind of team members who we can recruit from the area to help with more administrative stuff? But given the size of IAPSS now, but yeah, I guess any insights you're able to provide on that like historic change and how IAPSS function on a day-to-day level would be amazing.
Well, this was quite definite a huge undertaking. I think there were a lot of issues to arrange, and I think it was great. We had quite a lot of engagement on this. Politus, our member from Slovenia, did an amazing job with building a relationship with the university, doing all the work needed to be done in Slovenian. We did have Matija on the board as well, and he from Slovenia. So basically, that was extremely helpful and important. So there were a few elements I think that were interesting. First, this relationship with the university was providing a space, figuring out a partnership, what kind of space it would be, where it would be, etc. Then there was another a complicated area which was related to making sure that the board members can move to Slovenia. Because in order for that to happen, we had to have partnership agreements between the university and the university of the board members to facilitate that exchange. They would still be students. So we had to make sure that all the universities where we were would have these partnership agreements. And for the ones in Europe, I don't know if all of us, but some of us were on the Erasmus program. So we were, it was, basically we were looking at ways to make this exchange possible, so that we would all be able to be associated with the political science faculty at the University of Ljubljana. So this was another quite important aspect. Then obviously the legal registration of Iaps. We were registering in the Netherlands, and then we needed to be registered in Slovenia. The solution we found at the time was to discontinue the legal entity from the Netherlands and to establish a new legal entity in Slovenia, which was declared the legal successor of the legal entity in the Netherlands. I remember investing quite a bit of time in this and looking at the international conventions among countries on this topic. Okay, then obviously the more logistical aspects, finding an apartment for us to live, with regards to the office, finding furniture, and I don't know, all the logistics around the office. The banking part, opening accounts, finding ways to work with the bank, and so on and so forth. So it was, I was obviously moving from another country to Slovenia, so the Slovenian system was quite new to me. So that was also an experience in itself. I think these have been also, yes, definitely the way that we worked as a team. We each had our courses. Some of us had more courses, some of us had less courses, and we could dedicate accordingly more or less time to Iaps. But so we had to find ways to work together, to be in the office together, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I do have to say that I think all members of the board were extremely excited about this. And I think, yeah, this made it a really nice experience overall. And also that the support of Politus and our Slovenian colleagues was super important.
Well, thank you for sharing these details. I think it's very timely in our context as we are moving we ourselves moving to new headquarters and kind of had the same experiences, also dissolving legal entity in Netherlands as well, creating legal entity in Canada, and it seems like life is a cycle that just keeps repeating. But otherwise, zooming out from the day-to-day operations and thinking about big vision that you had for IAPSS, perhaps the future of IAPSS, what did you envision the organization to become? What did you want it to be like many years down the road? And do you think your vision came true?
So we did, especially in 2003, 2004, we paid quite a bit of attention to the strategic plan of the organization. I remember us working quite a bit on it. I don't know if this was the first strategic plan or not, but we did produce a strategic plan. So we had a lot of discussions about the future of Iaps and where we see the organization going. I do think that a part of the discussions were, so I'll start from where we are in the discussion in a sense. So a part of our discussions were relating to how we see these permanent headquarters and what role it would have in terms of making the organization grow faster, do more things, etc. Moving basically from having the seat moving around to different organizations to having one team in one place, and investing more time in it, coming with more insights from various countries and the backgrounds. So I think we expected a lot from this international team, and I do think that contributed a lot in very, very many ways. So for me, the option of having a team, an executive team and the board living together, well, being together in a city, and having office time and having the chance to work together, I think that brings a huge added value, both in what it gives to the organization, but also in the kind of experiences it offers to IAPSS members and to those IAPSS members that are most engaged. So that's one part. Then I did, as I was mentioning earlier, we did feel the organization needed to grow. So we were looking at this in various directions. First, with regard to membership, we definitely wanted more members, and we thought that IAPSS should be a truly global organization with members from all over the world. So I'm super happy this is happening more today. At the time, I think we reached out to all the organizations we could find and invited them to join. We were searching for political science student associations online in all countries we could, and so on and so forth. So we were trying to reach out and invite colleagues to join. I'm not sure if we started at that point in time or it was already started, but we definitely decided also to put an emphasis on individual members, because we found out obviously that not all countries have political science student associations. So in a sense, if we were just sticking to association members, then you couldn't really, we would exclude basically a number of countries where such associations did not exist at the time. I'm not sure what's the situation today, how many political science students associations are there around the world, but I do hope there are more than there were when we were when all this was happening. So membership was definitely a key component. Then the other aspect related to growth is related to activities. So we definitely wanted to continue what was there. So Politicon, the annual conference and General Assembly, and we started organizing some other events. So we saw the importance of having additional events that would bring maybe members and colleagues together on a regional level. I remember one regional event in Bucharest on the Balkans at the time, and I think there were also some regional events in Northern Europe. I'm sure there were more. This is what comes to my mind now. So organizing more events and more offering basically more experiences for political science students. And I do think the organization has grown significantly in the last couple of years. I remember an engagement a couple of years back when already there were more global and regional events, and much more was happening. And I definitely think that is a huge success in my view. I think also the partnership with IPSA and the association with the ECOSOC and so on. So basically being more, for me, it does boil down to the kind of experiences IAPSS offers to political science students. And I think there is a potential array of experiences that is infinite in a sense. So, but that also depends on what each General Assembly and board sees as valuable, and where you all invest your time basically at the moment. So to conclude on this, I definitely think you are doing a wonderful job, and I'm super happy to see Iaps grow over the last couple of years. So yeah, thank you for your work.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your work, because without the efforts of you and your team back then, we might, IAPSS might not be what it is today. So we were able to build off the foundation of our predecessors, and yeah, and keep moving forward. So yeah, and we definitely appreciate that you're keeping informed about IAPSS's activities. We definitely hope that we can, once we have the new office, we can focus a bit more on alumni activities, and maybe have something more standing in the future, where there's maybe portions of our conferences where alumni can attend and can network with current political science students, and also just meet old friends and stuff. But I guess looking to the future, I guess after your or I guess the time after your experience in IAPSS, would you maybe be able to tell political science students who might be tuning in a little bit about, I guess, what you did in your career after, and maybe how your IAPSS experience might have helped with the different, with what you encountered after your life as a student?
Yes, of course. Just to mention beforehand that I definitely think that it would be amazing to have more alumni activities, and I totally see the relevance of bringing together alumni and current members. I think there are a lot of aspects to explore in that direction. After Iaps, well, I did keep in touch with Iaps after. We were in Ljubljana 2004, 2005, and from 2005 to 2012, I studied at the Central European University, and for a while we had an IAPSS chapter at CEU. So I was keeping partially in touch through the IAPSS CEU chapter. So I continued my studies. Obviously, I was engaged in IAPSS basically during my college, my BA, and then I continued with an MA in public policy, and then a PhD in political science and international relations, as I mentioned, at CEU. Obviously, the experience at IAPSS was extremely important, because throughout my studies and afterwards, I continued to organize various kinds of academic and civil society events. And the experience in IAPSS, the experiences I had within IAPSS were extremely helpful in that regard. More substantively, my PhD work has been about development assistance in European development assistance in sub-Saharan African countries, and I was looking primarily at how Western states engage with African states and societies, and in a sense, the lack of understanding that exists in this dynamic and relationship. I do think that a lot of the insights that came from working together with people from different cultures in IAPSS and in the IAPSS General Assemblies, that has also played a role to open my eyes, in a sense, to these intercultural differences, and how important communication across cultural barriers, in a sense, is. So that has, I think professionally, that has been maybe one, or more substantively, let's say, that has been one of the most important things for me. This intercultural experience and learning how to deal with people who come from different backgrounds, who maybe think in the same direction, but see things completely different at times. And how can you align? How can you present your perspective in a way that it can be understood by people coming from a very different world? Yeah, so I think that obviously has been tremendously helpful in my work afterwards. After finishing my PhD, I've been working both in civil society and academia. I've been focusing on civil society development in Central Eastern Europe, in Romania particularly, on community foundations. And then I am teaching at 2 universities in Romania as a guest lecturer. I'm teaching on topics related to international development and also global affairs more generally. And my main work in the last few years has been to develop a research institute in southern Transylvania in a small town called Făgăraș. So that's pretty much where I invest most of my time now, and it is quite a fabulous experience to see how research and policy work can be developed in a location that is not necessarily traditionally seen as suitable for that, or at least in this part of the world. This connects a lot to my interest in development and my interest also in the impact of knowledge divide on development. So this is a little bit what I'm doing now, and yeah, I think Iaps has played quite an important role in what I do, as I explained.
Thank you for sharing about your career and journey after IAPSS. Looking back at at everything you've done after IAPSS, at your career, what advice do you have for political science students who might be starting out their education? Perhaps they're even in their first years of their university, or completing their master's or PhD, and will be starting their academic career, or will those who think to work in civil society or government, or any other areas. What advice do you have for them to make a great career for themselves?
Well, I think that's a little bit difficult, because I think there are a lot of individual decisions that are let's say essential in such a process. So maybe first, maybe just some thoughts. First of all, I do think it's important to be connected to what you really want and who you are, in a sense. I think the kind of energy you have to put into what needs to be done is very different when you do something you like and you're inspired by, compared to when you're not doing something that you like. So first of all, I think it's really about an internal process which relates to what motivates us, what drives us, what is important to us, how the kind of work we may choose relates to our values and to what we stand up for in this world. Yeah, for me, that would be one important area, and the most important area. Then, if building a career related to political science is the way, then I would say that I think most universities and faculties offer quite a lot of opportunities, and this is also something that is culturally different in different countries. In certain countries, students are in a much better position to take advantage of the opportunities they are given. In other countries, they are maybe more shy to do that. So I think across the board, what is important is obviously to take advantage of the opportunities you have. Within every department, there are I think it's super important not only to stick to what happens in the classroom, but to reach out and be engaged in getting actually work experience by organizing activities, conferences, journals, by participating. There are several of the larger political science associations, like American Political Science Association, IAPSS, International Studies Association, PSA in the UK, DSA, etc. So there are national and international professional organizations related to political science and international relations that are extremely, I think, provide quite extremely useful experiences. So being engaged in such organization, I think IAPSS is a fabulous opportunity because it is really targeted for political science students, and it's also a space that offers one the occasion to in a sense also shape few experiences, not only for oneself but also for others. So so I think that's one important part of the opportunities one can use. So I would say being engaged in all these activities is essential, not only well, because it can help with political understanding, maybe better political science topics, like if you attend or organize conferences, but also because you do get practical experience in regards to what it means to be part of a team, to make things happen, to think of an organization, be part of an organization, become acquainted with various strands of management that an organization basically has, managing human resources, the legal issues that we were talking about earlier. So a lot of real life aspects which regards how organizations or institutions work, which are pretty much similar across the board, whether we talk about civil society or business or government. So I think this array of experiences are extremely valuable, particularly when one is a student, because once you graduate and you go for a job, you will be really you will have a position which is quite specific. Whereas in a student organization, you have much more occasions to test different positions, to also hold leadership positions, which in real life probably comes at a later stage. But definitely it comes much sooner if you do have such experiences during student years. So probably also as we're political science students or alumni, probably one super important aspect is also the one of holding power. And I think even within a student organization, one holds power in various ways, be it that you lead a project, that you lead a board or an organization or a certain process. And I think while studying about power is one thing, experiencing holding power is another. And I think that that is probably one of the most important tests a political science student should put him or herself up to. And yeah, I think it's all student organizations, and in our field, particularly IAPSS, I think offers that occasion. Yeah, it's one thing to study about power. It's another thing to observe oneself reacting to holding power, and to seeing oneself using power when one has to use it for making an organization work. Yeah, I think there are just a lot of opportunities, and probably I guess the essence of what I'm trying to say is that one should really make good use of these opportunities and enjoy the process.
All right. Well, thank you. Those are wise words indeed. And yeah, in many cases, it's definitely a learning experience. And yeah, I guess part of the role, our responsibilities at IAPSS is kind of coming to grips with just the scale of what IAPSS has become, and the potential implications of our actions in terms of how we shape the organization. If we're like building new connections, like as we mentioned, the journey to new office space in Montreal and things like that, we kind of have to think of those long-term communications. And as you kind of touched upon, making sure we have strategic plans in place to help give a good foundation to those who come after us in the future. But I guess at this point, thank you so much for your detailed answers about these various. It kind of gives us a window into what was going on in 2003 to 2004 and your other involvements in IAPSS and such after that. So is there anything else that you would like to mention? And are there any perhaps any concluding remarks that you would like to leave for political science students might be watching today in 2022 in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, or perhaps political science students who might be watching this in the future to learn about what IAPSS was like in the past.
Okay, well, the first thing I want to say again is congratulations for the work that you are doing, and a big congratulations to all the students and colleagues who are making IAPSS grow. With regards to political science more broadly, and for today and the future, I definitely think we are living super interesting times at the moment, as technology, the environment, and let's say international security all put quite increasing pressure on how this world works. Not only at the multilateral level, but all the way down to a very local level. So I do think we are, we've entered and we are in the middle of a quite significant transformation process for our societies and the global society in general. And I think political science is extremely well placed to look at this, at the implications of these transformations. With no doubt, the new technologies will, and the way the economy and society are shaped by new trends in technology and climate, I think will lead to significant transformation of governance processes and structures, with which I think are core to political science. Yeah, I think it's a fabulous moment to be studying political science. It's a fabulous moment to be thinking of the longer term implications of the transformations we see today. It will take a lot of boldness and also openness to, I think, more interdisciplinary work and to understanding various fields and various parts of society for actually really grasping what these transformations are bringing, and actually for contributing to building whatever types of institutions or entities might emerge out of this broader transformation. So yeah, just I think it's maybe just a general encouragement to look at these trends, to engage with these trends, and to contribute with insights and work towards what is needed to actually have a peaceful world in the middle of all this transformation.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking some time with us to reflect on this. And I think that's a very good note to leave us with here. But thank you so much once again. It was great to hear your perspectives. And I guess as we mentioned, kind of get a look into what happened at IAPSS during that very important point during its history. And we definitely look forward to hopefully some future alumni events where we can yeah, continue these kinds of conversations and include more folks from the IAPSS team and future IAPSS team members and IAPSS members as well. But I guess with that, thank you to everyone who's tuning into this video, whether it's in the present or in the future. And we definitely hope that you've learned a lot from this video, and yeah, we hope that you stay in touch with us and with our other events and activities that are coming up this year and in the future. Oleksii, is there anything else you'd like to leave us off with as we conclude?
Well, thank you for agreeing for this interview and just giving so much advice and details about your past at IAPSS and your vision for the world for the future. Just hope whoever is watching this in the future has benefited from this interview, and you can apply it on their own life. But thank you for the work you did in 2003, 2004, and the work you continue to do to this day. Really appreciate your involvement back then, and of course today. Thank you.
Justin and Oleksii, thank you also very much for the invitation. I'm extremely glad we had the chance to talk, and it's always a pleasure to reconnect with the Iaps. So looking to also being able to have further discussions in person once this pandemic becomes less of a challenge. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.